Good morning. We're back for our next departmental budget discussion. I'm Mayor David Briley. I'm joined this morning by Talia Lomax O'Neill to my left, the Finance Director for the city, and Emily Pacini, the Mayor's Office Chief of Staff. Let me start by just saying a few things about last year's budget. As you probably remember, last year's budget was a little bit unprecedented, both in terms of its circumstances for getting filed and the financial situation the city found itself in. But we were able to tighten our belts last year and live within our means. And that, coupled with the fact that we've had some revenue growth in the last 12 months, has enabled us to be in a position to offer a 3% COLA to our employees, as well as the steps and open range increases that are needed, in fact, deserved by our employees. So everybody should be getting a raise this year of some sort. I think 70% last year, but everybody this year will get both a COLA and open range or a step. So I'd like to recognize our county's criminal court clerk, Howard Gentry, my former colleague on the council, who's here this morning. If you could introduce who came with you, and then if you'll save a little bit of time for questions at the end, we would greatly appreciate it.
Certainly. And thank you for having us today. And to my right is Julius Sloss. He's the Chief Deputy Clerk. And to my left is Stephanie Patterson, Director of Finance. And hopefully you all will find a need to hear from both of them today, and because they're here ready to talk. And both doing an amazing job. Not only are they doing an amazing job, but our 87 full-time employees are really working hard and working to serve the public. You know, our main responsibility by statute is maintain the records of the criminal court. And we have warehouses of records to prove that, and maybe one day we'll be allowed by statute to be able to do that electronically. But right now, we have to keep both. And but we have a great staff that's doing that. We're in our 8th budget hearing, and since I've been criminal court clerk, and wow, time does pass. And so I'd just like to give you a few highlights and involve my staff also in providing the highlights. A few years ago, we were, matter of fact, in February of 2017, we were given the opportunity to develop a compliance office in our current situation. And we called it compliance because it doesn't just deal with collections, it also deals with expungements, payment plans, anything that involves the person that the judge has provided an order. Most of their needs, the compliance office is able to deal with it. And it does come back to money. And so looking at our stats from 2017, we have currently assisted 1,800 defendants, which have been, those defendants have been placed on payment plans. We've really talked to over 5,000. And those payment plans total $878,000, and there have also been 2,866 defendants with suspended license that have had those licenses released, and they're back on the streets. And all of that's important, and you'll see how these highlights kind of blend into the total operation of our office. We have been able to utilize technology at a heightened level, and we are continuing to do so. And believe it or not until 2016 were we able to provide web payment opportunities for our customers. In the first year, 27% of those people utilized the web payment opportunity. In the next fiscal year, 31% are utilized it, and now in 2019, almost 40% of our clients are utilizing the web payment, and it allows our customers to transact their business without incurring the expense of coming downtown, parking, and having to deal with inconveniences of getting to the courthouse. Also, I think I'm going to, yeah. Also, I want to just talk about, since we were talking about the compliance area, collections. We lost our collection, third-party collections partner about how many months ago?
Back in latter part of October.
Latter part of October. And so we've been utilizing the compliance office to handle those needs to this point. On April 5th, the procurement department will close requests for proposals to have a new person, a group come online. And we're excited because we've added the language that allows our new, whoever the new agency will be able to deal with them in real time. When payments are made, we'll know in real time. We'll be able to have reports, and it'll give us an opportunity to work with them and through our compliance office to be able to really, hopefully, provide, just like web payments, an easier method for them, but also a more effective and efficient method for us to be able to procure or incur payments that are due the court. And going backwards, and Stephanie, I know you weren't expecting me to ask you this, but I am. Since we have lost the or no longer have an outside collection agency, give us an idea, an example of what the compliance area has been able to accomplish, especially in the last month,
Yes,
or in
sir.
this current month.
At the end of our contract with our vendor, they were bringing in an average of $45,000 per month. The last 2 months, we have taken in over $65,000 on those cases that they returned to us.
Yeah. And when we say we lost the vendor, they actually came and asked us to end the contract. They're moving in a different direction. And so they didn't just run away. I mean, so, and we didn't kick them to the curb either. So, but that's what that compliance office that has been created has helped us with. And I want Julius to talk a little bit about some current things that are occurring with our technology and its e-filing. So, Julius.
And the big thing, and Talia is extremely familiar with this, back in April of 2017, we entered into a contract with a vendor. Back then it was Xerox, which became Conduent, and Tibera. And that was basically a collaborative mayor with not only the criminal court clerk's office, but also the circuit court clerk and the juvenile court clerk as well. Actually, as we speak, the vendor just flew in today. They are starting training today with our employees for us to go live. Our tentative go live date is April 8th, which will allow people to start filing things, certain things electronically with the criminal court clerk's office. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. Originally, the schedule called for the circuit court clerk to go first, but the way things have gone with our testing, it's kind of pushed us ahead of the curve. So.
And training?
And yeah, the training starts today. Matter of fact, they're training as we speak.
What can be filed in the criminal court clerk's office in anything or everything, or are there limitations?
Right now, I'm not aware of any limitations on things that can be filed unless it's something that is statutorily required to be filed by paper. But to my knowledge, everything that people are able to file, they will be able to file electronically.
So the indictment will be filed electronically too, or how?
To my knowledge, yes,
That's
sir.
right. Oh, right.
And
Just tell me you're not gonna print those things and store them.
Whatever the judge needs and how they, oh, print you all things. Oh,
No, I'm thinking about the state law you said.
Oh.
With the printing, tell me you're not gonna print.
Right, unless it's something that's statutorily required to be filed, in person in our office, we are trying to move into as much of a paperless direction as we can.
And then if the judge wants to print it, they can print it
They
in
can-
our office,
yeah.
right? They can
Okay.
pull it up
Yeah,
electronically.
there'll be the way we explain to them is that we're not going to throw you into the deep end of the pool on the first lesson. We'll run a dual system where there are things that you want to continue to receive with a file, actual paper, we'll do that, but we'll run a dual system until we transition over.
Right.
And the ones who want to come into 2020, we'll have the proper screens up on their desk where they can zip through files and do whatever they want to do without having a piece of paper in front of them. So,
One of the best things about this entire project is that each of those offices collaborated to come to an agreement to a single product and a single rollout, whereas before we might have received 3 different individual requests from each of those offices. So they have done just really a great job.
it was kind of neat having 2 people next to me that were I don't know if you were part of it. You might have left before, but Julius was part of the whole process when he was over juvenile court. So he came in just ready to rock and roll. Also, and we're going to move on here. Speaking of technology, we'll also be able to do e-citations with us. And matter of fact, go ahead and tell them about that too.
Right now, any tickets that are written by our state troopers in Davidson County, we're receiving those tickets, actual paper tickets. Back in December, we brought a developer in who began coding to allow us to be able to transact business with the state electronically. So we are, in about 2 weeks, going to start testing on that, where we'll be receiving these tickets electronically.
So they create them electronically already?
Yeah.
Yes,
And so now it's just a question of communication between the 2 systems?
exactly.
And
But do
finally-
our officers create their tickets electronically? They create, our MNPD creates theirs
I
on
don't know
paper, I
about our
think.
police department.
Right,
but
I'm not-
This is state,
familiar.
this is state. I don't think they do them all electronically.
Yeah, 'cause
I can't,
those
I'm
would
not
go
sure.
to, actually,
That's
Ricky
Ricky.
Rooker's office.
Right, true.
And as you all are aware, on last fall, we had to remove affidavits from our website because the potential of having protected information exposed on those forums, and we've all been through that process, and where there were Social Security, driver's license, and possible credit card numbers exposed. We now were given funding by the not given funding. We had funding in our technology
In our
fund,
computer fund.
and computer fund, and the council did approve us using that. So we have purchased the program that will allow us to redact and also. Go
Right.
ahead. He wants to talk.
Yeah,
Go ahead. He
absolutely.
likes that technology stuff. Go ahead, Julius.
We are actually in the process, Mayor, of getting requisition's already been issued for the purchase, as Mr. Gentry mentioned, of software that will allow us to redact Social Security numbers, driver's license numbers, credit card numbers, any kind of personal identifying information. That requisition has been issued, and we will have RFQs that will go out. One of the things right before you came in that I was talking to the Director of Finance about was the fact that even once we make this initial purchase on a recurring basis in about a year, we're going to need about $27,000 or so for licensing fees. So.
And that is where that request is coming to Metro. We just, we're doing our part, and I think there's a combination of reasons why this occurred, and it's on us to correct it. But there's going to be a reoccurring expense after we have put this in place of around $27,000 forever, to be able to keep that up. And we are hoping, and it is in our budget request, that the city could see fit to help us to fund that reoccurring cost, and hopefully that can occur. Yeah. So really, that is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have something to say about that later, but that is a request that we are making. And of course, everybody's heard of expungements, and when I came into office 8 years ago, we were averaging around 13,000 expungements a year. We're averaging 34,000 this year is our highest number, and that number is just going to keep going up. And this just, as the public should know, this gives people an opportunity, if they are allowed by statute, to have their criminal records removed from the public record view. And so we're real proud of that, and we're going to continue to work hard to continue to provide that opportunity for the public. Okay.
I want to talk about revenue just for a moment.
Okay.
Because if you look at the history, there is a downward trend. I guess I just want to kind of hear from you on, do you expect that to continue to decline, or do you think that will stabilize?
Well, I'm going to let Stephanie talk about it, but I do want to make a statement on the front end that that decline, I actually said it to the council last year, is a result of us doing the right thing in the criminal justice system. We are trying. No, I'm not even saying we're trying. We're moving in a direction with the compliance division and the technology to be able to provide our office the opportunity to receive all funding from those who are able to pay and those who are certainly should be paying as quickly as possible and as effectively as possible. We are doing that. The trend, as you're going to hear from Stephanie, is not under our control. It happens in the courts. It happens in the arrest process, and we deal with what actually comes to us as a result of the arrest, the incarceration, and the court hearings, and the court orders. And so Stephanie's going to kind of give you the numbers as we're looking at it today.
Right, and I think the decline in the revenue will be directly impacted by the direction of the criminal justice system as it grows and as it changes direction. So I think that the cost waived is probably our biggest factor. We're currently, this fiscal year, we have waived $7 million in costs and assessed $6.2 million. So we're waiving costs at a rate that is higher than what we are assessing. And as you know, also, the driver license law that was deemed unconstitutional at a federal level in July 2018 was our incentive and probably our greatest motivator to get defendants to pay and complete their court costs. And additionally, our jail fees, the impact of the Metro resolution that eliminated jail fees has impacted our revenue by a rate of 65% from last fiscal year through February. And that was taken into consideration in our last budget by my predecessor, but it will continue to have a residual impact on our revenue.
Now, one thing.
Oh,
go ahead. No,
are you thinking it's about stable now, or we should expect continued kind of gradual reductions?
I would think that the impact would be almost stabilized, considering waiving costs is not a new practice. But I think that it's been a practice for long enough to where we should start to see some stabilization depending on what other laws are implemented and if there's an update to the driver license law. I know it may be under appeal right now, but if that changes, it will of course impact our revenue.
Okay.
So there are things that we're taking in consideration, and that is, with all the technology that we're putting in place now, we're hope to be able to redeploy, and I say redeploy because we don't need extra people, but redeploy some of our human assets closer to the courtroom, and to be able to have contact with persons who have just been assessed before they get out of the building. The worst thing in the world is when a person, especially on dismissed on costs, even though they receive the amount normally from the court before they leave, they're not being told to go up on the second floor. They're not being really directed anywhere to be able to take care of that cost. We're moving, hopefully, in the direction, and Julius is probably saying, what? He never told me that. But this has been talked about for a few years within our office, to be able to just touch and help people. That's why we call it compliance. Hey, you need to, you owe this money, you need to come on upstairs and let's see if we can work it out. Payment plans are starting to be very important in the process of the criminal justice system. And so the fact is that we're just hoping because we can only deal with these numbers as they come to us, that we'll be able to say that we're doing everything that we can do humanly and through technology to be able to capture monies that are owed to us from the people who can afford to pay us. And hopefully in doing that, we'll be able to stay balanced in our revenue and in our revenue situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.